afford it. You haven't heard the asking price. Well, I don't mean that. I love these wonderful old barns. They're in greater danger of extinction than the spotted owl. If I bought it, I'd feel obligated to restore it to its original splendor. Did I mention I'm on salary at UCLA? Her lipstick smile was firmer than the foundation. Why don't you postpone your decision until you've seen all there is to see? Well, I guess I can afford a tour. Saying it, he felt an intoxicating mix of anticipation and surrender. History was his weakness and his calling. Max Fink's very public dream of 1927 turned into a hangover 2 years later, but by then everyone else was too busy taking aspirins to notice. Fink had stumbled into millions in 1912 when he rented out his candy store in Brooklyn evenings and weekends for the exhibition of silent motion picture shorts. When he came by one night after closing and saw how many people had lined up to see painted Indians chasing covered wagons across the New Jersey countryside, he evicted his tenants, bought a projector, struck a deal with a local photoplay distributor, and went into show business. When Thomas Edison sued his movie-making competitors for infringing on his patent, Max Fink fled with them to Southern California and invented Hollywood. Along the way, he stopped at choice locations to purchase vaudeville theaters in financial trouble and converted them into movie houses. 15 years after he sold his last Jolly Roger, he invested his profits in the stock market and used his credit to build a glittering chain of motion picture palaces from coast to coast, saving the biggest and best for Los Angeles. The Oracle, as sketched by the architect, was a Balinese Turkish-Grecian temple with a mild Polynesian influence and bits cribbed from Moorish Spain, Renaissance Italy, and the Gaiety Music Hall in Flatbush. Seating was designed for 5,000, with space in the pit for a 100-piece orchestra. Fink commissioned a 4-manual Wurlitzer pipe organ to accompany the action on screen, a half-ton chandelier, and plaster Pegasuses to flank the grand staircase rising to the mezzanine. When word reached H.L. Mencken, the curmudgeonly magazine mogul quipped, "It just shows you what God could accomplish if he had bad taste." Then the jazz singer, the Warner Brothers' last-ditch attempt to rescue their studio from bankruptcy by introducing songs and spoken dialogue to the silent screen, opened to delirious throngs at Grauman's Chinese Theater. Over a night, Hollywood was forced to shut down its pantomime productions. Sound stages were erected, theaters were wired for speakers, and audiences were permitted to hear their favorite matinee idols speaking lines instead of having to read them on title cards. All this expensive retrofitting led to a recession in California. Reluctantly, agonizingly, Fink told his contractor to reduce the size of the orchestra pit and reconfigure the auditorium to seat a paltry 1,800 customers. Construction in 6 cities was postponed until the industry could catch its second wind. It was like when the dot-com bubble burst in the 90s, Anita explained in the sing-song tone of a museum tour guide. Millionaires found themselves lining up for free soup at Salvation Army missions. There was a song. She broke off, stuck for a title. "Brother, Can You Spare a Dime?" Valentino finished. It was about a busted railroad baron, but it applied to the Hollywood elite 2 years before the Depression hit New York. "Maybe I should keep my mouth shut and leave you in charge." Anita's relentlessly chipper tone fell short of covering her impatience. "Sorry, I did warn you." He reached out to stroke a crushed velvet seat and put his thumb through the rotted fabric. They were in the auditorium, a vast ruined chamber where the ornate brass sconces had been scavenged for scrap, leaving gaping holes in the exquisitely molded plaster. In spite of the cutbacks, the completed oracle was a marvel. Fink had reduced its scope, but steadfastly refused to skimp on material or workmanship. Its marquee towered 40 feet into the sky, lit by 16,000 electric bulbs, with colored searchlights swiveling and crossing sword-like beams far above the red-tile rooftops of Golden Age Hollywood. Attendance at the premiere of the Hollywood Review of 1929 shattered every record set since Ben-Hur 3 years before. 6 months later, Max Fink was broke. After the stock market collapsed in '29, he was forced to sell his theater chain to mollify his creditors.